Good morning, dear students. So I am here with the Indian Express newspaper, and today's date is 13th March 2026. Okay, so let's begin with today's session. And this is the front page. Okay, but it's the world, it's about the world. The front page is mainly about this one is the front page. Okay, so this is about the world. So let's begin. As oil tanker burn, Iran says ships can pass Strait of Hormuz. It's a strait means Strait of Hormuz if they coordinate with us. Okay, like अगर कोई टैंक पार हो रहा है और if without permission of Iran they are crossing with this from Strait of Hormuz जो कि ईरान से क्रॉस होने वाला एक सी रूट है ठीक है then it's a topic of critical thinking okay क्योंकि at the time of war and if any ship is passing through that route where the in means at the time of conflict then वो इसी वजह से for that they are just trying to burn all the ships and all because they don't have information which like which ship is crossing from that line okay that's why Iran says they have to be coordinate with them okay if any ship or if any oil tankers are passing through the route of Strait of Hormuz. Because if any ship have to pass from Strait of Hormuz, this time they have to take permission from Iran. Okay, Beijing adopt ethnic unity law that erodes minority rights and cements assimilation. Israel strike hurt of Beirut as it widened evacuation warning in southern Lebanon. Outdated intel likely behind deadly US strike on Iran school. Active shooting at Temple Israel. Synagogue in Detroit saved by FBI. So moving from all the world's thing, like whatever the things is happening inside the world, we read about that, and this time we are at the front page. Okay, so in first statement, as a new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei was to avenge death, Strait of Hormuz to remain closed, shut US base or attack continue, Iran leaders, said by Iran leader. We all know from yesterday's newspaper that there is a ship of India, which is oil tanker, that's oil ship okay, which is passing through the Strait of Hormuz without the consent of Iran, and they have to face a lot of difficulties, and they are under Iran this time, okay, and there are some blast also faced by them. Okay, so this is the news. So what PM speak to education? Deep concern over loss of lives, escalation of tensions. As stop. Just a sec, I have to choose pencil. Okay, so as oil tops dollar 100 a barrel again, more Iran drawn had to pursue Gulf countries. Delhi in talks with Tehran to let fuel ships bound for India transit the strait. Delhi to Bangalore. Eateries feel the hit as LPG cylinder black marketing surge. LPG supply hit. Government pushes kerosene and coal as option. They're in talk with Tehran to let fuel ship bound for India transit strait. It's wherever you saw the word strait, it means Strait of Hormuz. Okay, so what US initiatives initiate Section 301 probes against India, China, and 14 other. And what's inside it? Uh, claims India has access Capacity in petrochemicals, steel, solar units. So trade deficit with India as 4 point. Store point. Attack on Farooq Abdullah, Delhi begins. Probe into security lapse. This one is the second page, and you will get detailed explanation of first page or front page. Then please read this. About the city, whatever news I saw as important, I will read that. RGSSH DSCI IHBS to be brought under GTB hospital under health department's proposal to set up another aims like institute government must integrating four big hospitals. It's the news about the integrating of four new hospitals like aims. Better to jump off building than die. Noida factory fire traps 200 injures. Trap 200 injures 37. LPG supply uncertain. Noida restaurant experiments with induction. About the politics. India co-sponsors resolution at UNSC condemning Iran attack on Gulf nation. Kerala ex-minister Shraddha Karan quits CPM. Bengal loves those who loves Bengal. Mamta message to Governor Ravi. Parliament session. Nitin Gadkari with Aam Aadmi Party, Raghav Chatta and other in Parliament. Birla rules apply to all. No MP can speak anytime on anything. Returning to the House after the motion to remove him from the office was defeated. Lok Sabha Speaker who says about the speech in Parliament is guaranteed and subjected to the Constitution, rules and standing order regulated to procedure. Everyone from PM and cabinet colleagues to members of opposition to follow these rules. Okay, so the rights to speak anything at any time, this right is snatched from the member of parliaments. Okay, so this is the main motto of this. House panel sounds alarm as the urban development budget hits 5-year low. NCTE wants school education departments presence in key panel. Kiske Kashi Ram, UP parties via for BSP founders legacy as 2027 polls loom. Nation some trying to create panic over LPG said by PM. LPG storage hit it raised vendor across India as West Asia conflict disrupt social supply. Okay. Infosys Pune advises staff to bring home cooked food. Kota hostel mess switch to firewood for cooking meals. About the nation, these are the local news. Okay, about the editorial page, we are going to read this page in the last session. Okay, okay. Let's read about the economy section. So Iran is allowing passage only to its China-bound oil tankers. Two oil tankers reach India via Strait of Hormuz. Ignite hope. Source said that two tankers are going to reach India and it's ignite hope. Okay. Insurance underwriters say fear brought shipping to a halt, not coverage. February inflation rises to 3.21%. Iran war impact yet to be felt. Exporters seek priority allocation of LPG natural gas for manufacturing unit. US insurers have turned to AI to settle charge versus payment battle. So everything is important inside it, but this news is too much important. Okay, so then please read it in detail. Moving to the editorial section. I have found an economy page and explanation page, explain page, but I only found a single page, which is economy page, and that's why I read that page. And from that page, I am again in editorial section. So, what's the article inside it? Atmanirbharta is managing external dependencies, a big power rivalries. So, Atmanirbharta. Just a sec. So the weaponization of India's oil import by United States, linking with the sourcing of oil to term for bilateral trade, is a reminder for constraint imposed by such external dependence on national security and foreign policy. So independent India began its development process with four critical external dependency. I just read it dependency. It's dependencies. The main dependencies on food, foreign exchange, defense equipment, and energy. Okay, so the foreign exchange crisis. I have to make it big. Okay, so the foreign exchange crisis of 57-58, which already alerted the policymaker of external affairs that the war with China in 1962 will signal the shortage of defense equipment, and the drought will draw attention of the critical dependence on food imports. So the Gulf War of 1990 contributed to a spike of oil price and triggered a balance of payment crisis. Okay, so what government says of the day learned in important economic and foreign policy lessons from each crisis, the shortcoming and defense equipment from 1962 and the war forced by PM Jawaharlal Nehru to reach the US for assistance, for help, assistance. So the food crisis of mid 60s showed how external dependence in a vital sector like food could also be used to shape foreign policy choices. And President Lyndon Johnson tried to link food aid to change in India's stance on the war in Vietnam, and PM Indira Gandhi stood her background. Okay, so what mainly says that the government should have to learn from all the historical moments that already historical crisis that already happened, and they have to be learned a lot of things from each crisis, like in shortcoming time. In 1962, means I don't remember the date because I already read the paragraph that PM Nehru ji and who reached US to help for help. Okay, and just because of food crisis and a lot of external dependence they shown in food. Okay, कुछ कुछ चीजों में बहुत ज्यादा लड़ाई होने की वजह से वियतनाम के साथ इंडिया का वॉर और अलग अलग कंट्रीज से वॉर की वजह से बहुत सारी चीजें इंडिया को फेस करनी पड़ी एट दैट टाइम ऑल्सो. सो आज भी 1990 में भी ऑयल की जो प्राइसेस है वो बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ गया था और बैलेंस ऑफ पेमेंट में अलॉट ऑफ क्राइसिस दे स्ट्रॉन्ग, बट स्टिल इंडिया इज नॉट प्रिपेयर फॉर दैट. आज all these things happen in 50 or 20, 30 years ago, and still a single war between any nation can impact India too much. Okay, so India should have to be prepared and learn something from the history. Whatever the things that already faced in the history. Okay, so ये जो ऑयल क्राइसिस आए हुए हैं 1990 के, ये सब्सिक्वेंटली फॉरेन एक्सचेंज क्राइसिस है 1991 के, ये फोर्स कर रहे हैं इंडिया को कि वो अप्रोच करें IMF for support, and neither US nor other developing economies and were willing to help India until the government of PM Narasimha Rao, the major change in both economic and foreign policy. What diplomatic recognition of Israel was one consequences when's result in G7 group of seven economics and Russian invasion of Ukraine, रशिया यूक्रेन का जो वॉर हुआ था उसमें भी बहुत सारे तरह से बहुत सारे फैक्टर्स इंडिया को अफेक्ट किए हैं एंड बहुत सारे एनर्जीज जो यूएस से सप्लाई किए गए हैं, ठीक है. इट शोज दैट देयर इज स्टिल constraint रुकावट है being imposed by pursuit of independent foreign policy and highlight the strategic importance of great self-reliance. Okay? आत्मनिर्भरता के ऊपर बहुत ज्यादा इस पे बात की गई है और हाईलाइट करी इस टॉपिक को. सो little wonder that the PM Narendra Modi has already rediscovered the relevance of Nehru's policy of Atmanirbhar Bharat in as Pandit ji is slant day in and day out. ठीक है, और आज के टाइम में पीएम मोदी जो है, ठीक है, वो भी आत्मनिर्भर भारत को, सेल्फ रिलायंस को बहुत ज्यादा प्रमोट कर रहे हैं. ठीक है, but it should be clear that the manager of national security and US persist its present policy of weaponizing all form of trade, especially trade in energy. ठीक है, और आज भी इट शुड बी क्लियर, आज भी ये सब सारी चीजों को क्लियर कर देना चाहिए दैट नेशनल सिक्योरिटी जो कि मैनेज किए जा रहे हैं यूएस टू परसिस्ट एंड प्रेजेंट पॉलिसी ऑफ वेपनाइजिंग ऑल फॉर्म ऑफ ट्रेड, especially trade in energy, defense equipment, and access to advanced and critical technology. So the optimist generation in the last February's joint statement tilted US in-depth compact catalyzing opportunities for military partnership, accelerated commerce and technology for the 21st century should now be set aside given the event of the last 12 months. Okay. So लास्ट फरवरी में भी बहुत सारे इम्पैक्ट यूएस और इंडिया आपस में बहुत सारे इम्पैक्ट फेस किए हैं, बहुत सारे पार्टनरशिप हुए हैं इन दोनों के बीच में. ठीक है, इन लास्ट 12 मंथ यूएस और इंडिया के बारे में बोला गया इस पैराग्राफ में. दिस टाइम पीएम मोदी और जो प्रेसिडेंट ट्रम्प हैं, दे मेनली साइन अ लॉट ऑफ ट्रस्ट एंड अ लॉट ऑफ एग्रीमेंट्स विद ईच अदर. ओके, और वो लोग एग्री हुए हैं एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी with fundamental to economic growth and social well-being and technical innovation in both countries. ठीक है, ये आपस में बहुत सारा एग्रीमेंट किए हुए हैं और पार्टनरशिप किए हुए हैं दैट इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ कैसे एक दूसरे के कंट्रीज को बढ़ाया जाए, सोशल वेलबींग और टेक्निकल इनोवेशन कैसे किया जाए. सो ट्रम्प ने साइन किया है, प्रॉमिस किया है कि वो एनर्जी अफोर्डेबिलिटी और रिलायबिलिटी, अवेलेबिलिटी एंड स्टेबल एनर्जी मार्केट, ये सब चीजों पे ट्रम्प ने प्रॉमिस किया है, स्टेटमेंट दिया है. ठीक है, कि इस चीजों पे वो काम करेंगे. ठीक है, और ये बोथ कंट्रीज के लिए बहुत हेल्पफुल होगा. सो बाय रिनीजिंग ऑन द प्रॉमिस, उन प्रॉमिस के रिनीजिंग मीन्स उन प्रॉमिस को ध्यान में रखते हुए, ठीक है, ट्रम्प ने इन क्वार्टर सेंचुरी ऑफ ट्रस्ट बिल्डिंग बिटवीन यूएस एंड इंडिया एंड ट्रस्ट और ट्रस्ट स्टेटमेंट की वजह से इन दोनों कंट्रीज के बीच में जो लीडिंग प्रोड्यूसर्स और कंज्यूमर्स हैं, ठीक है, वो कमिटेड किए हैं एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी पार्टनरशिप. और उसमें क्या क्या है एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी पार्टनरशिप में, विच इंक्लूड्स ऑयल, गैस, सिविल एनर्जी, सिविल न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी. ठीक है, तो इंडिया कैन नो लॉन्गर ट्रस्ट ट्रम्प्स अमेरिका on energy security after the event of the last fortnight. So joining hand with Israel, the US has engulfed all West Asia in war that serious results India's energy security, but also larger economic interest. It has invested in the region given a geo-economic stake. It already acquired the Gulf. Okay, so Israel और यूएस का जो एक्शन है अमाउंट और टू betrayal of trust. So PM out to stand up and say as much in parliament. So इंडिया का जो नेशनल सिक्योरिटी मैनेजर है that allowed into many more agreement with US and Trump administration give direction to Trump's economic and geopolitical policies. So the Modi government's policy of Atmanirbharta requires it to stand up to the challenges of new imperialism imposed by Trump's aggressive move around the world. Self-reliance is on not granted. So even as India continues to manage those long-standing external dependencies, it increases uncertainty, global economic and geopolitical environment and it mainly immerse बहुत कमजोरी और एक्सटर्नल मतलब बहुत vulnerability and external sources के बाद India has viewed some diaspora that reach and standing in West Asia as a symbol of soft power. ठीक है आज इंडिया as a symbol of in West Asia's country India saw himself as a soft power, okay, as a source of foreign exchange. So there's all passages about the last time the kind of external influence mongering was experienced on such a scale was during the Cold War in 1960 and 70 when the non-aligned with India became an important theater for external actors. Once again, one sees a similar increase in activities of what are the days fashionably referred as influence. The difference between the earlier Cold War era and now in the paradox that on the one hand India has become more developed and more influenced and yet on the other hand it appears to have become more vulnerable to external pressure and influence. And PM Modi seems to adopt Indira Gandhi as a role to manage as role model on range of policy issue. A style of PM means prime ministerial governance. He has not yet acquired a sense of personal courage and confidence to stand up to such external bullying. Standing up to Pakistan is okay, but she stood up to the big powers. Managing big power rivalry, which in the contemporary era is three-way contest between the US, Russia, China, while not allowing any one of them to exploit India's external strategic dependencies as a weapon against India is what leadership has to be about. Okay, so it's about everything and the role models. Okay, so thank you. And I already read the article and everything. So please read it in detail and read each and every line in a very informative and detailed way. And I will going to provide you this PDF in description box. So please go and read that. Okay. So thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe my session.